Hi there, this is Love Johar. Thank you so much for tuning into this video and thank you so much for watching this channel. In this video, we will cover about each and every minute detail about the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. If you are unaware about this act, about any of the important facts regarding this act, then please watch this video very carefully. This will help you understand this act properly. So, as we all know that it is the first comprehensive data protection law in India, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, which is also referred as DPDP Act. Okay, and the main purpose here is to protect the privacy of individuals' digital personal data. We will discuss how it is done and all the parameters in this video. So please watch carefully. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section. So the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDP Act, is an act for the Parliament of India to provide for the processing of digital personal data in a manner that recognizes both the right of the individual to protect their personal data, okay, for the individuals, and the need to process such personal data for lawful purposes. Okay, so we need to understand that how the data is processed lawfully is the reason why it has been enacted. So, what is digital personal data? Because I said we will be covering everything in this video. So, let's start from the scratch. So, digital personal data is any data that relates to an identified or identifiable individual and that is collected, stored, used, processed, or disclosed through digital means. Okay, this is very important. So, you might think that paper data, like data which is in physical form, might not be covered in this, but no, if the physical form of data, whenever it is converted into any form of digital means, then it is covered. Okay, so make sure you understand this properly. This includes data such as name, address, contact details, financial information, health data, and biometric data. These are some examples, okay, just for your reference. So, who does the DPDP Act apply to? The DPDP Act applies to all organizations that collect, store, use, process, or disclose digital personal data of Indian citizens. Okay, this is to be highlighted, regardless of whether the organization is located in India or not. Okay, so wherever the organization is based, if it is processing or disclosing the digital personal data of Indian citizens, then this act definitely applies. Okay, what all it includes businesses, government agencies, and non-profit organizations as well. So key provisions of the DPDP Act 2023 are the main reason again is processing of digital personal data within India, where such data is collected online or collected offline. It will also apply to such processing outside of India if it is offering goods or services in India. Okay, the DPDP Act defines the digital personal data as any data or information that relates to an identified or identifiable individual. We have already discussed that. So now what does it ask to do? So the DPDP Act requires data fiduciaries, which are actually responsible for this data, organizations that actually collect and use or disclose the personal data, to obtain consent from individuals before processing their data. However, there are certain exceptions to the consent requirement, such as when processing personal data is necessary for compliance with the legal obligation or for the protection of vital interests. So this is very important to understand. Okay, there are exceptions to this as well, but very few and limited. So the DPDP Act imposes a number of obligations on data fiduciaries, including the obligation to process personal data fairly and lawfully. This is very important. Collect and use personal data only for the specific purposes for which it was collected. So whatever purpose they have actually specified in the consent form that they are providing, that should be clear, and the data, personal data, should be only used for that specific purpose only, not for any other reason. And the other thing is they should take reasonable steps to ensure that the personal data is accurate and up to date, and protect personal data from any unauthorized access, use, disclosure, or modification. Okay, these have to be taken care of properly. After that, the DPDP Act gives individuals a number of rights. So this is for individuals. They can access their personal data anytime they want. They can request rectification or erasure of their personal data. They can restrict processing of their personal data. They can object to the processing of their personal data, and data portability. Data portability is, I think, self-evident. Still, if anybody is not able to understand, feel free to ask in the comment section. What are the key features of the DPDP Act? So, DPDP Act includes a number of key features, including consent. Organizations must obtain consent, explicit consent from individuals before collecting, storing, using, processing, or disclosing their digital personal data. Data minimization is there. Organizations should only collect and use the minimum amount of digital personal data which is necessary for the purpose of processing. Data accuracy is there. Organization must take reasonable steps to ensure the digital personal data is accurate and up to date. Organizations must take reasonable steps to protect digital personal data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, or modification. Okay. Data portability. Individuals have the right to transfer their digital personal data from one organization to another. See, the point is already covered here. Those who have not able to understood. So, what are the rights of individual and under the DPDP Act? Individuals have a number of rights. We have already covered that. They can also file a complaint with the Data Protection Authority of India, which was not mentioned there above, and object to the processing of the digital personal data. This is new. And what are the consequences of non-compliance with the DPDP Act? Organizations that fail to comply with the DPDP Act may face a number of consequences, including fines up to 10% of their global annual turnover or 500 crore, which is ever lower. Imprisonment of up to 3 years for key managerial personnel. Revocation of business license. These are few. More you can of course see in the complete act itself. How can organizations comply with the DPDP Act? Organizations can comply with the DPDP Act by implementing a number of measures. So, what are these measures? Let us understand. Developing and implementing policies and procedures for processing digital personal data in accordance with the act. As I mentioned, you have to understand the act properly, and that's why I'm creating this video, so that you understand about the act in a better way. Implementing appropriate security measures to protect the digital personal data. You have to implement appropriate security measures. You have to train your employees on the DPDP Act and the organization's policies and procedures. You may have to revise them as per the DPDP Act requirements. Okay. Conducting regular audits, internal and external, to ensure compliance with the DPDP Act. These are some of the pointers that any organization would have to consider regarding the new act. Now, what is the impact of the DPDP Act 2023? The DPDP Act is expected to have a significant impact on businesses and organizations that collect, use, or disclose personal data in India. Business and organization will need to comply with the requirements of the DPDP Act, such as obtaining consent from individuals before processing their personal data and taking steps to protect personal data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, or modification. The DPDP Act is also expected to have a positive impact on the individuals, as it will give them more control. So, this is the whole reason why has been created. Uh, we actually, the government wants to give more control of the individuals to their own personal data, and more rights to access, rectify, or erasure of their personal data. This is the, in nutshell, if anybody asks you, you can tell this is the reason of this act. Now, what all organizations would be impacted by the DPDP Act? There are many organizations. You can see the list. I think most of the organization is already, uh, already mentioned here, but still. So, how to prepare for the DPDP Act? So, you can prepare by taking the following steps. Conduct a data audit to identify all the personal data that you collect, use, or disclose. You need to identify the data points. What are the data flows that you have wherever you are collecting, storing, or disclosing the personal data. You have to develop the procedure and policies for personal data in accordance with the DPDP Act. Implement appropriate security measures, training employees regarding the new act. Some additional details here for the DPDP Act. It basically establishes a data protection authority of India, which will be responsible for enforcing the provisions of the act. So this will be established. A data protection authority of India body will be established, which will be responsible for making sure that this is implemented properly across the whole of India. And the act also sets up a data protection fund, which will be used to fund the activities of data protection authority and to raise awareness about the data protection, which is very important, I think. The DPDP Act includes a number of exemptions, such as for the processing of personal data by government agencies for law enforcement or national security purposes. Okay, so these are exceptions. Summary, just to summarize what all we discussed in nutshell, if you want, because has been a long video now. So the DPDP Act is a significant development in the field of data protection in India. It is important for organizations to comply with the DPDP Act in order to protect the privacy of their customers and employees. Why customers and employees? Because organizations are processing employees personal data as well, as they are also processing or using the client information as well, their customer information, personal information as well. So both these parameters should be looked at from an enterprise perspective. And it is important for businesses and organizations to understand the requirement of the DPDP Act and to take necessary steps to comply with those requirements. So I hope this video makes sense. And of course, if anybody has any questions, if you have any follow-up thoughts, feel free to add in the comment section. I would be more than happy to respond back. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.